Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Fair M, and we're going to get to hear from William the Conqueror today in Act 3, Scene 1. But first we need to cover Act 2, Scene 3, because there are no monologues in that scene, so we need to fill you in on what has happened. So there's two sort of sets of weird love triangle things going on, and Act 2, Scene 3 is between Fair M and Vallingford, because she's already, remember, she's in love with Manville. Manville is in love with her. But Vallingford and Mountney are both also in love with her, and Manville is upset because he thinks that she's being untrue because she noticed that they existed. She didn't lead them on in any sort of way. So she's like, I gotta shut all this down. And she tried shutting Mountney down, and he was at first upset about that. She sort of tried to shut him down by pretending to be deaf. And he was sort of upset, and then he's like, wait a second, no, Vallingford has to be setting me up. Vallingford must have put her up to this. So in Act 2, Scene 3, we have a scene between Fair M and Vallingford where she starts out by herself, and she's like, oh, this is so annoying that he doesn't trust me, that he doesn't believe in me, that he's jealous of me, and oh my goodness, here comes Vallingford. And Vallingford comes in, and he's, oh, my love, my sweet, and she's like, oh my goodness, I'm suddenly struck blind. And he's like, wait, what? I was coming here to court you, and now you've lost your sight? And she's like, yes, I can't see anything, so I have to go home. And he's like, no, I'll go to a doctor. I have a really good friend who's a doctor, and he can cure you. I'm sure he can cure you. And she's like, no, I don't really trust doctors. And he's like, well, in the interim anyway, take this jewel as a token of my affection. And she's like, jewels? You give me jewels? A person who can't see anything? You give me something that I'm supposed to look at and enjoy how it sparkles? What are you even thinking? And she goes storming off, and he at first is upset about this, and then he's like, wait a second, this has to be Mountney. Mountney put her up to this. I'm going to go and check that out. So now Mountney and Vallingford each think that the other is setting them up to be treated rudely by Fair M, even though this is just Fair M not interested in either of them because she's in love with Manville. So that's Act 2, Scene 3. Act 3, Scene 1, we get to check in with Mariana and Lubeck. And remember, Mariana and Lubeck are together. Lubeck had a shield that had a painting of Blanche on it that William fell in love with the painting, but then when he saw Blanche, he was not at all impressed with her, but he fell in love with Mariana instead. And he tried to ask Lubeck, can I court her? And Lubeck's like, but she and I are together. And the two of them got into a bit of a fight at a masquerade ball because the music started, and William in a mask went to try to dance with Mariana, and Lubeck shoved him out of the way. So then to get back at him as they were leaving, William stabbed Lubeck in the arm as they were leaving the masquerade ball, and he got arrested for that. But then the two of them realized that it was each other that did it once the masks are off, and they're like, oh ho ho, you got arrested, sorry about that. Oh ho ho, you got stabbed, sorry about that. And they make up and decide that they will continue to be friends. But William is not going to back down. And William had written a letter to Mariana wherein he confessed that he is in fact William the Conqueror. So she's aware of who he is. And at the beginning of the scene, we have Mariana and Lubeck talking, and he's like hemming and hawing about this, oh, you know that I love you, but you actually love me and all this stuff. And she's like, you know that I'm true to you. And he's like, yeah, I know, but this guy that I'm traveling with, Robert of Windsor, my very dear friend to whom I owe everything, he likes you a lot. And she's like, but I like you. And he's like, yeah, but I owe him everything. So could you maybe just like him instead? And she's like, but I like you. And he's like, but by liking me, then you want to make me happy. And what's going to make me happy is if you like him. She's like, well, can I maybe just like you both? And then Blanche comes in, at which point Lubeck leaves because apparently they can't be in the same room together or some such thing. But Blanche comes in, and she's full of fire and being snotty again. But Mariana is like, hang on a second, hang on. I have a plan. She's like, you're in love with this Robert of Windsor character, correct? Who's in love with me? And Blanche is like, ah! And she's like, just calm down. I know that he's in love with me, but I'm in love with Lubeck. So what I'm going to do, because Robert keeps trying to come and talk to me. So at some point, he'll come and talk to me, and I will agree to meet him somewhere, But then when it comes time for that actual meeting, it'll be you that goes to meet him to run off and get married with him. We'll trick him. We'll do the old switcheroo thing. And Blanche is like, well, okay. And William starts to approach. So Mariana's like, just hide in that bush and see how I talk to him. And you'll see that I'll make all of this work in your favor. So Blanche goes to hide, and William comes in, and William greets Mariana, saying, Lady, this is well and happily met. Fortune hitherto hath been my foe, and though I have oft sought to speak with you, yet still I have been craught with sinister haps. I cannot, madam, tell a loving tale, or court my mistress with fabulous discourses, that I'm a soldier sworn to follow arms, but this I bluntly let you understand. I honor you with such religious zeal as may become an honorable mind. Nor may I make my love the siege of Troy, that I'm a stranger in this country. First, what I am, I know you are resolved, for that my friend hath let you that to understand, the Marquis Lubeck, to whom I am so bound, that whilst I live, I count me only his. So what he's saying is, I'm happy to see you. Hooray that we ran into each other. I've been meaning to try to talk to you for a while. And then he's like, I'm not the flowery, romantic sort. So I'm just going to flat out tell you I'm in love with you and I hold you in the highest esteem. And I can't really make a big deal out of this, but I know that you know that I'm true in this because my very good friend, the Marquis de Lubeck, who I owe a lot, has told you that this is true, that I really do honor you. And there's some back and forth between the two of them, a little bit of wordplay and all that sort of thing. And she eventually gets around to like, okay, so what are your intentions with me? Do you intend to just, is this a one night stand thing or what are your intentions? And he's like, no, my intention is to marry you. I have a ship like right over there, and we can go and get on that ship, and I'll take you back to England, and we'll get married. And she's like, well, technically I'm kind of a prisoner here, so it's a little bit difficult to leave. And he's like, haha, I'm kind of a king, so I can get you out of here. No problem. There's no problem with that. And she's like, okay, what? She's like, just checking. You don't expect me to sleep with you before we get married, right? And he's like, no, I never would. I would never do that with a woman that I respect. But okay, that's close enough. That's me being my snippy 20th century feminist, putting that on there. But she's like, okay, as long as you don't expect me to sleep with you before we run off to get married, I will meet you at the dock at this specific time and we can go. And I think it might be easier for me to get out of here if I disguise myself, if I put a mask on my face. And he's like, ooh, that's a good idea. And she's like, okay, great, I'll meet you later. And she leaves. And then he just has like 4 lines by himself on the stage at the very end of the scene where he's like, hooray, I'm gonna get my Mariana. And that's the end of Act 3, Scene 1. So, whew. What's interesting, there are so many elements in this play so far that are reminiscent of other Shakespearean plays. And I think this might be why scholars are having a hard time figuring out who actually wrote this. The whole switcheroo thing happens in Measure for Measure. The love triangles thing happens all over the place. There's a lot here that if this was written before, it's like these elements maybe inspired the better writings of stuff later. But I will admit, I'm also rather having fun with this one. I mean, Fair M and Mariana just shutting down the suitors that they don't want. Kind of fun female characters to play, I think. Anyway, maybe I'm crazy. And this video has been plenty long for today. So yeah, we've got Fair M faking physical infirmities to get rid of her unwanted suitors. We've got Mariana and Blanche plotting a switcheroo on William the Conqueror so that each of these ladies can end up with the men that they actually want to be with. And who knows what's going to happen to all these other extraneous men, because there's more male characters than female characters in this play, but that was also pretty traditional for that time. So anyway, come on back tomorrow for more as we try to sort out this whole great big mess of love triangles and such. I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.